All
All
right.
right, cool. Here we go. Welcome back, Morse Code Podcast. I'm here. Soap's here. Another incredible guest for you this week. By far the best guest we've had in our short run. But I'm going to kick it to Soap just to kind of get this thing rolling. You were the one who was able to secure this spot. So, Soap, what do we got today, man?
Yeah. So obviously, I got to give a big shout out to Nick Gelso, previous guest, maybe recurring guest, depending on his choice. But anyways, Nick helped us get in touch with a Finals MVP for the Celtics, 1981, two-time title winner, now voice of the Celtics on 98.5 The Sports Hub, Mr. Cedric Cornbread Maxwell.
Okay. Close enough.
Close
Yeah.
enough. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine, gentlemen. I'm just sitting here on this pandemic day looking out just like you guys and just relax.
Aren't we all?
94 degrees here in Boston. We can't complain today at all.
My goodness. So, I mean, here we go. You mentioned it. In the middle of a pandemic, from a sports perspective, certainly like nothing I'm sure any of us have ever seen or been a part of. You're obviously a much bigger part of this thing than, people like we are. You're with the team. You're the voice of the team, as Soapy said. I figured we'd just quickly kick off. I know obviously you don't have to worry about going down into the bubble and deal with all that nonsense. Let's just talk about this going into the playoffs in general. What do you think about the Celtics team in general? We talked with someone last week. It seems like they're pretty healthy, especially COVID wise. What are kind of your takes and how far you can see the Celtics have a legitimate run going into the summer?
Well, I think that one thing that happens with this COVID and the possibility of a guy getting COVID and being out for a couple of weeks, I think the Celtics, because they're not a short-handed team, they're, I think, the deepest team right now in the NBA, they could afford to lose a player. Yeah. Whereas you think about the Lakers lost somebody like a LeBron, or if somebody, say there was, you're talking about Giannis. If Giannis left the Milwaukee Bucks, what would happen? So I think because the Celtics are a deep team with the players that they have, I think that they can get a lot of traction if they get on the road. The only thing that would concern me right now would seem it would be Kemba. Kemba's knee, and they keep talking about it flaring up, and he's been out now for practically almost 2.5, 3 months. So you definitely would be concerned because you think if he's resting it during this time, that it'd be fully healed again. But as an older player, when those you have some bald spots in your tires, you guys should know about that. Your car's not going to run as well.
Yeah, 100%. So cool. Now we're all excited. So what's it going to look like from a radio perspective? How are you guys calling the games exactly, logistically?
We are doing the games at the Garden, actually.
Nice. Okay, cool.
In the office there, not inside on the floor, but in the office. Celtics have an office there, and they're going to link us to a live feed from the bubble. And matter of fact, I'm pretty happy I'm not going to be there. I think it would be really weird to be there with no fans, no fan noise behind me. So, and it's going to be just as weird sitting across from Sean Grandy, my broadcast partner, doing the games and in a room just watching on TV and then sending that sound back out over the radio airway. I think it's going to be it's going to be a little disconcerting, but I'm happy to see that the NBA has at least they have found a way to kind of get this thing going to complete the season. Because I would not want to see a guy like LeBron not get an opportunity. Get to be older. It's the older players. Jason Tatum's and the Browns, I'm not as concerned. They'll get other opportunities, but the LeBron Jameses of the world or Kemba of the world, those older players, you don't want to miss out on a complete year of NBA basketball or being in the playoffs.
No, I was going to say, I don't know if you've seen some photos. Looks like Bron's getting a little gray in the beard. He's getting up there.
I got the salt and pepper going for real.
I think that LeBron, LeBron's embracing it now. Finally,
finally
becoming an older player. For one time it was putting the dark stuff in his hair, and then it was like the receding hairline. Eventually, LeBron, you just gonna have to give it up, and But the thing about it, Father Time is not lost yet. He is
undefeated.
And if he hasn't lost yet, he's sitting there waiting in the aisles to knock you out. So I think that's the case.
There was one off season that's hilarious. You bring it up. LeBron's hairline went from here to like here,
like that.
Yeah,
it was impressive. I was like, wow. I'm surprised he didn't do that earlier.
He's that damn
Doctor,
good.
That's called those commercials you see, guys. If you're losing your hair right now, call Doctor such and such, and so we can do some implants or whatever it is. I just think that guys just get a little too vain from time to time. I can understand he's a older guy, but it's just really weird kind of seeing LeBron James still trying to fight Father Time.
Yeah, and that's a good point though, because I agree with you 100%. We've said on the show before, especially this summer, LeBron drives the league. I think LeBron was one of the guys that came out and either got sick or was pushing for not to restart the season. I think they would strongly consider looking at that. I think it was Lou Williams, was he the one who came out and said, hey, if LeBron wants to play, we're going to play. That's pretty much as easy as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it wasn't Lou Williams that actually said it. It was his counterpart. Mm-hmm. And I'm, what is it?
Pat Beverly?
Patrick Beverly.
That's who it was. I knew it was a Clipper.
The one who said it. He's like, if LeBron wants to play, then we're going to play.
We're playing.
Like, how are you going? This guy's on another team, and you're going like, well. But LeBron, I think he's arguably right now still the best player in the league after all these years. And I think with all these social issues, LeBron James to me has become really the GOAT of everything that I've seen because, everybody goes LeBron James. LeBron, what do you think? How do you feel? And for a guy who didn't go to college, who wasn't educated like that, he speaks so well. And I'm so proud to see that he steps up and is able to take and secure that microphone without, getting a misstep. You think LeBron James has been absolutely amazing in his career.
Yeah.
For him
that's a good point.
For as long as he's played, what do we think about his misfall? It was the decision that he made.
It's so funny you mention that. We had a whole episode just about that.
Other than that, you think about what has LeBron really not done. He's won multiple championships. The hype with him coming in and the reality, they've kind of mashed together because he has been that next chosen one. And the king was a good name to give.
Mm-hmm. It's fun. It's funny you say, he's fighting Father Time, and so far he's looking good in the fight. Speaking of Father Time, I got a little watch on.
Uh-oh.
You know where I'm going with this, right?
Oh, that must be is that your Finals MVP watch?
This is my regular season. Actually, this is Depoy, Defensive Player of the Year watch.
Okay.
But this is the 2020 version. Oh. Tell us about 81.
Man, if you guys had time, you know what? I'd actually go in there and get the watch and bring it back out here so you could actually see it. Y'all want to pause for a second? I'll grab the watch.
Yeah, go get it.
Absolutely.
Hold on a second, John. I'm gonna go grab the watch. I know
you're the man.
A good handy place.
So as I guess for our radio audience, as Cedric's going to grab the watch, really interesting stuff though on LeBron. It's funny because if you listen to our show, we said a lot of similar things about what has this guy done to get like all this hate, and we said the decision. Sounds like Cedric Maxwell said the same thing. Those are some really good intel on LeBron James, and he's back. He's back from the safe.
I'm back.
It looks like he's got it in a cigar box, like something super fancy.
It's not even a safe. Okay, this is the best thing about this. Best thing about this was the box that came on. This is the MVP box that it came on.
Yeah,
that was the best thing. And then when you go there, you think, okay, then they give you this black thing right here, and you're thinking like, man, a Rolex doesn't necessarily fit in this. I don't think.
Yeah. This thing's looking a little skinny for a Rolex.
Whip this puppy out of you going.
Come on.
Are you kidding me?
Now disrespectful.
A lady's watch?
Yeah.
And then the name it has on top of it, Seiko.
Oh my God.
I
Don't even
mean,
try and hide it.
on NBA, really. I mean,
Goodness
the only thing
gracious.
we found out recently, I talked to somebody about it. We looked at the watch,
Yeah.
and the only good thing about it was the fact it was somebody was looking and said it was 24 karat gold. That's what was plated. But this is how thin this is. And you think I walk to LeBron James right now and say, "Yo, man, you got one of these?" He'd be like,
You got one of these.
Kobe, did you get one of these? I mean,
Yeah.
all you guys, did you actually have one of these, Michael? Any of these? I'm the most unique person right now winning the MVP award.
Hakeem, Shaq, what you got?
Oh,
so who won regular season MVP that year? Do you remember?
Oh God, regular season MVP in 1981.
Probably look it up. I was just curious what they got.
You know, I don't know if was it, Dr. J, was it Larry?
Mm-hmm.
It had to be one of those guys. Dr. J, Larry, maybe Magic. It had to be one of those guys. I really don't know.
1991, 1982. It looks like Dr. J.
Okay, I was gonna say whoever it is, I hope that they just got like a really nice ballpoint pen or something.
Man, that would be,
that's a retirement gift, not an MVP trophy.
I think like maybe some chewing gum or something would be good.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
With
that'd be a nice
their name
courtesy.
engraved in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, lip gloss, or maybe a can of stuff that you put in. Okay.
Well, let me ask you this: on the box, is your name engraved on that? Like, how long after the finals did you receive the gift?
I got that maybe a week after. I flew to New York. I was on Good Morning America. I was on another show in the afternoon, and realized the NBA was 1981 was just kind of kicking in good, because the finals at that time were tape delayed. They weren't even live.
That's incredible.
So that's how the NBA moved from 1981 being in the finals there to 1984 being in the finals with the Lakers. It was like essentially like night and day.
Yeah. So that's when it started live, 84.
It started live before that, maybe a couple years before that, but 1981 was the last time it was done like this. No engravement on it. Was just a very nice box. And the engravement, you might be able to see it, but that was the engravement right there. Barely can see it, make it out. And
does that say Sport Magazine?
Yeah, Sports Magazine, MVP Finals. Let's see, Sports Magazine, NBA Finals, MVP Awards, Cedric Maxwell, Boston Celtics, 1981. I had, about a year ago, I opened this box, and I had to use some Gorilla Glue to put this thing back up here. I'm gonna tell you what, I got screwed. That's all.
Hey, at least they could have sent you the maintenance kit as well with some Gorilla Glue and some polish.
Yeah, like a mini screwdriver.
The coolest thing about all this was it was last year at some point. I had told a couple players about this, and I actually bought the watch and the box to a game and showed it to Jason Tatum, showed it to Jaylen Brown, a couple other players, and they just said, "Dude, you were the come on, are you serious? That's what they gave you." But I'm tell you, one of the most unique things about it being a Finals MVP was it had to be about 8 years ago, maybe a little bit more. Cedric Perkins, who had played with the Celtics, I was like a mentor to him. He was playing with OKC. And so after the game, I walked into the visitors' locker room to say something to Perk. So as I'm walking in, I said, "Perk, you owe me some damn money." And Westbrook and Harden, they were sitting there together, and they were kind of looking like, "Ooh, you." And Perk just turned to me and said, "I don't give a damn if you were the Finals MVP." And they looked at me like, "Who the hell is this? Who's just walking in here?" They had no idea. So I think that was that's the cool thing to be about Finals MVP and being me. The most unique thing was the only Finals MVP never to be on the All-Star team, and two, the only Finals MVP never to be in the Hall of Fame. So those are the unique settings I have.
That's crazy because you're such an integral part, and you're putting up some numbers on, those title teams and for your whole Celtics run.
Yeah, it did happen, but there's always that one person or that one thing that's going to be left out. So I don't harbor any malice towards it. I look at some guys who are going in now, and I'm thinking like, well, if he went in, then it's like Dino Roger, who played with the Celtics. He did it. He was an international recipient because he played. I think I'm going to say Croatia. He won a couple championships there. When they told me that Dino Roger had won it, I said, you know what, dudes? I'm from France right now. That's where I'm from. I want to be from France. Not from North Carolina. I'm from France.
Yeah.
So, I mean, no animosity. It is, the Hall of Fame is one thing, but to have your number retired, as you guys, we talked before, in the rafters in Boston. I said that at my induction when they pulled my jersey up to the top, my number to the top, and I said, no offense at all to the Hall of Fame in Springfield, but the Hall of Fame is right here. If you look at those numbers, the select few that I was with, and Bill Russell and Casey Jones and John Havlicek and JoJo White, Dave Cowens, Paul Pierce now, Kevin Garnett. These are Hall of Famers that, I think surpass, if you put them together, they surpass any class that you want to be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, hell yeah.
Absolutely. No one's going to wear that 31 again.
No. Actually, good point.
Well, you know what? Wait a minute. That could have been questioned right there, wearing 31. Because the year the Celtics won it, I want to say in 08 or wherever they won it, a year later, they wanted to go out and they were trying to have Reggie Miller come back out of retirement. And Reggie Miller wore 31. I was like, Reggie, come on back, man. You can wear 31. I wouldn't have cared at all.
Yeah.
So,
you could have gotten a watch out of him at least.
I don't know what I could have got, but I could have got something out of it. But he and I teased him even to this day when I see him. I said, dude, I can still pull that 31 down. He said, oh, I'm okay, legend. I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm good. Was there any significance to number 31 growing up or anything like that?
No. Significance actually was more or less with 33. When I got here, initially, I wore number 30.
Yeah.
33 was my number in college. And the first time I got here, Steve Gaversky had the number 33. And they gave me the number 30 when I got here. And they cut Steve the same year. And if I had known that, I would have taken 33 at the time, was the number I wanted. But then I had 30, and then ML Carr came to the team, my good buddy, and he had a bunch of jewelry. He was from Detroit. So he wanted the number 30. So I was like, sure, take it. And that's when they gave me 31, and the rest is history.
Hold on. You mentioned jewelry in Detroit. Did he give you some jewelry in exchange for the number?
Yeah, like a high five. That's what it was.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of players now, when you get into that situation, they pay each other off to get the number.
It just happened with Brady.
And I've heard people say that about things, but I was more or less like just happy to be on the team.
Yeah.
So for him to say, and he was a free agent coming in, I didn't care. I didn't care. He came to me, do you mind if I have that? Man, take the number. It really didn't have any importance to me at that time. It was just a number that, I wore my first time in the league.
So speaking of 33 and Celtics team from that era. So Soapy, you came across something the other day you wanted to mention. That you
did. So Cedric, I heard you talking to Jeff Goodman, Bob Ryan, mentioning that, with all this downtime during the quarantine, you're talking about your relationship with Larry. Did you ever get around to calling him this summer?
No, I did not yet, but I'm probably going to do that maybe this week. And the reason I said that is there always seemed to be after we got through playing, we never had that when we played. There was some animosity, and it wasn't on my part, or it was from Larry's part. I don't know whatever started, and I think it might have started when I said that I was on the air one day and I said that Kevin Garnett was the best all-around Celtic ever to play. And my good buddy at that time, Greg Dickinson, who was doing something for Comcast, asked Larry. So Larry, Cedric said that, I don't know why he asked him this. Cedric said that Greg Dickinson, he said that, you went on to say that Kevin Garnett was the best all-around player. And Larry got upset about it for whatever reason. But it's no kicking at Larry, but I think if you look at it, offensively, Kevin Garnett is not far behind Larry Bird.
I can see an argument for sure. Yeah.
Kevin Garnett is not far behind Bill Russell defensively. So if you want to say the best all-around player maybe to ever to wear the Celtics jersey, I think that you could easily say that. So by that, I don't know if somebody's feathers got ruffled or whatever it was, but I heard Larry say a couple of things, and I did get a chance to speak to Larry maybe about 3 years ago, I think, when the Celtics played Indiana Pacers. Larry was in the building, and I said, "Is Larry here?" And he was in the back, and I went back. I said, "LB, what's going on, man? How you doing?" And I got a chance to speak to him, but I didn't get a chance to speak to him in length about, about how I felt, and that, especially with this pandemic, that it really defies logic right now to have any enemies at all over trivial bullshit. You don't, and that's what that was. So he was a great teammate, won multiple championships with him. And so that's why I said what I said. And he asked me, was anything I regretted? And that's the only thing I think I've regretted, just not having a really, really tight relationship with Larry. And we wouldn't be like boys where we be going out, because I don't drink beer or our lives completely different. I like playing Scrabble. Larry probably likes going hunting. So we got two different.
Or shoveling his driveway.
Yeah, that wouldn't work. So but just to have a thing where I could call him and say, "How you doing, man? How you feeling?" Like I do with most of my teammates. I've had a podcast with Robert Parrish. I did one with ML Carr. I did one with Ray Allen. So just those legends of the Celtics, and I'm one of the few people who's left right now. I just always want to have that connection with players that I played with from the past, especially a great player like Larry.
Yeah, no, I think I've heard that before. It's got to, at some point, it's a respect thing. You battled with these guys for so long. You can call Larry up anytime and shoot the shit, or, if, hey, you need something, vice versa. It's kind of like that brotherhood, I guess, of the NBA.
That is really good. And that's why I've made the point about Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen. Two guys who won a championship together. Two great players. Two of the greatest players in NBA history. Now all of a sudden have some kind of knick-knack feud over because Ray decided that he wanted to go to play with Miami. And if you look at it, it was a great decision for him. And, maybe not for the Celtics, but business, one thing we look at, even in the Godfather movie, what they said was, hey, it's just business.
Yep.
It's 100%. Business. And when he left, it was just business. He decided to go where he felt like he could win a championship. And if you look at it, the Celtics looked like they were going in another way. Avery Bradley was now starting in front of Ray. And then you coupled out with Jason Terry. They went in and went out and got him. So Ray was just looking like, what direction is this team going in?
So is that how you saw it when it happened in real time? You saw it from the business side, not the emotional side?
I did. Okay. Well, I did too. Well, the reason I saw it, because it was the same way when I got traded. Right. It was a business decision. I had played eight years here, started for 7 of those years, and then Kevin McHale was coming on like gangbusters. So they wanted opportunity to showcase Kevin without having me or anybody in his way to develop. And it worked out well for them to do that. And it was a business decision. And the only thing I always said about when I got traded was, all I wanted the Celtics to do was wish me the best, like I wish them the best. At the end of the day, that's all. You don't get caught up into this whole business aspect of like, oh, this guy didn't do this and this and that. No, we won multiple championships together, and at the end of the day, you have to look at this is what the NBA. It is a business, and if you try to do anything else other than that, then you're going to make a mistake.
But what if they sent you to the Lakers instead of the Clippers?
Well, that year when I got traded, being with the Clippers, I got booed in every city I played in that year, except Boston. Because when I went to the Clippers, man, I got just that, it's the home team, and I played with Norm Nixon and Marcus Johnson, a couple of guys, and they come in, they would cheer for them. My name would come up and was like, boo.
Oh, man.
Went over and played against the Lakers when I was with the Clippers and boo. So it was, it was what it was.
Whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of, speaking of that era, Max, you as a guy who's, played in that era and now are involved in the broadcast of the current era, if you had to take one player from the current era, move them to the 80s just to see how they would fare against like the toughness, and I got an answer.
Smart.
Ooh.
What about a guy that you think wouldn't do as well?
That's pretty good. I hadn't thought about not doing as well.
James Harden.
You know what? I know you like to say James Harden, but you got to look at where these guys are shooting from. There were a couple of players. I talked to Michael Cooper. I had him. He was a great Laker player, and he said, well, I can stop James Harden. Dude, not from where they're shooting from.
Yeah, right.
These guys are shooting from half court. They're not shooting like the threes for us. We were hoisting those things up. Right now, it's off their fingertips. So I don't know. I'm trying to think a great player that I would say would struggle. I don't know, because you think about Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi during the 80s, it would be a beast.
Yeah.
We attacks the rim. LeBron, a beast. So I don't know who I'd pick. You know who I think would have maybe a little bit more difficulty could be Jason Tatum. And the reason I say that because Jason Tatum so quick with the ball. Hand checking, which they had during that time, maybe would slow him down a little bit. So from that standpoint, I would look at it that way. Now, Steph Curry, how quick he shoots, where he shoots from, how are you going to compete against him during the 80s? I mean, during the 80s, one thing that happened during my championship game, 1981, championship game versus the Houston Rockets. In that game, in the entire game, there were 6 3-pointers attempted for the entire game.
Yeah.
So the game has changed so much, and Steph Curry has a lot to do that. We can say James Harden, but where's James Harden shooting from? You know what? The crazy thing, look at it this way. The collection of players I've seen on one team would be OKC. You think about who they've had on that team. When you think about Harden, Westbrook, and Durant, Jeff Green, Serge Ibaka.
Yeah.
I mean, that is Lamb. I mean, you're talking about, man, just a collection of guys that you're going. 3 guys on that team were MVPs of the league, and that to me, that's great. That's how much
that is crazy.
At OKC, yeah.
It's funny when you said that guys are shooting from half court now, and you guys were hoisting back in the day just to get from like 23 feet. Did you watch the Last Dance Bulls documentary?
I saw part of it. Part of it.
There was a clip where they were showing their practice. I guess they were playing horse or something, and so one of the shots that everyone was taking was probably like 6 feet behind the 3-point line, and it looked like if you ever got to take out the trash and the bag's too heavy and you're just like, you got to sling that thing to get it into the dumpster. That's what those guys looked like. And that was in 98. So like what you're saying is so funny and so true about now these guys flick of the wrist and they're shooting from half court.
People are getting, you think about it this way. People are coming to the Warriors game 30 minutes before the game just to see Steph Curry warm up.
Yeah.
Dude, literally, he is shooting like 2 feet past half court. You think about the shot he had against OKC, where OKC the score was tied, a couple of seconds. The guy was waiting for him at right there, a couple of feet beyond the 3-point line. He stops 3 feet beyond that and knocks the shot down.
Yep. Ice cold.
That's happened with everybody. Here's a question. You guys are asking me one. I'll ask you. I'm gonna change the table a little bit. Give me your Mount Rushmore of sports. Your Mount Rushmore of sports. Can't be wrong. You get four people. You can pick. You can pick 4 different sports. You can pick them all from the same sport. But just give me your Mount Rushmore. In your backyard, you're building one right now. Your Mount Rushmore
I am actually.
would be okay. You get one. Okay. Who do you have back there going?
I think you do 2, and I'll do 2.
No.
I mean, I'm sure we're gonna overlap. No. Respect the question. Sorry, he's new to media. He's not like me and you, Cedric. I think there's a couple like universal. I think Jordan has to be on it for obvious reasons.
Okay.
I'm trying to think like across sports from baseball.
This is yours.
Yeah, I know. Okay. So Jordan's up there. I would put Brady up there.
Okay.
I would put. Damn. It's got to be heavy basketball, football. So maybe. I'm trying to think of another basketball. No, I'm not going to say LeBron. Maybe someone from that era like Larry or Kareem, one of those guys. And then baseball, for whatever reason, the only name that comes to mind for baseball is Babe Ruth, just because like so legendary like stories. Now I wasn't able to see him play live, but just like the stories and everything.
I couldn't even see that myself.
So I would probably go, and I might have to make an adjustment. Like I said, my wife and I are in the process of our landscapers building us a Mount Rushmore in our backyard.
Okay, I got it.
So I'd go Jordan, Brady, Babe Ruth. I don't even know why that came to mind. I know I'm missing an obvious one. I'll just go Kareem for now, and then Soapy can correct me where I'm wrong.
Okay, all right. No correcting you.
Oh, and Cedric Maxwell, of course.
That's yours. No. You got a fucked up Mount Rushmore if I'm back there.
a poor man's Mount Rushmore out there.
There you go.
It was the discount one.
Okay, next.
What do you got,
I'm going to go Jordan, Brady, Tiger, and Barry Bonds.
Tiger is fair. Bonds is just too much controversy around it, and I'm a huge Barry Bonds fan.
I went kind of like that, but I went Muhammad Ali, Jordan, Tiger Woods, and then I went off the board with what I consider the greatest female athlete of all time. I went with Serena Williams.
Yeah. And that's fair, because here's the thing about Mount Rushmore arguments. It's 4 people. It's way too small. It's way too limited. You know what I mean? That's why I think it's kind of the Mount Rushmore argument is so cliche. And even like speaking of The Last Dance, all we hear about now is GOAT debates with LeBron and Jordan and who's better. And they have a new freaking side-by-side chart after every episode. That's just too disrespectful to way too many people. You know what I mean? To have here's my 4 top athletes in the history of life. You can never do it.
We don't give a damn about that. This is why I ask people. I just want to get their opinion. And it's really funny because I talked to a guy who was from India, and he picked somebody who was in cricket. And he picked somebody, Michael Schumacher. And then there was another person who picked, who went out and picked somebody, you guys, and it would be sacrilegious because a lot of you guys, right, there are a lot of your listeners would say, where's the soccer guy? What's soccer?
Yeah, right.
Right. So, I mean, those are, they're
where's Hulk Hogan?
But there's
Gretzky.
Gretzky, It's your pick, which is, and I said, no, you can't be wrong, but people can pick at your pick. And so
right. And not right or wrong, but it's like to my point when I heard what you guys both said, by me having my 4, I don't want to say I don't think Muhammad Ali or Tiger Woods or Serena Williams would be up there. It's just I only have 4. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Well, it seemed like you made a little change when he brought up Tiger Woods.
Tiger for sure. Tiger,
Okay.
and that's just me personally. Tiger for sure. And I think it's a generational thing too. Muhammad Ali, great. I just never, you know what I mean? I never saw him fight live. I never really followed while it was happening. Tiger was must-watch television. I mean, we're both, Soapy and I are 31. So whenever it was early 2000s, 20 years ago, that was must-watch television for this generation.
Yeah. So I'm just saying that's why I said Tiger Woods had to be Ali for me, because not only for what he did in the ring, but what he did outside the ring.
Of course.
Change social issues. And that's what I think is so cool right now about talking about LeBron.
Yeah, I agree.
About what LeBron has done. LeBron has, and people say, well, Michael Jordan did not have that media platform. Well, no, Michael Jordan did have that media platform. Because anything Michael said at that time was going to resonate around the world. So
exactly.
Off the hook. He just chose not to be that way. And for me, that was fair. He didn't have to be that way. And that's what's so cool about LeBron is that he doesn't duck those issues. Matter of fact, he goes head into those issues. And that costs him a lot of it's got him a lot of fans, but it's also got him a lot of enemies.
What were your thoughts on LeBron opting not to go with one of the jersey, the custom, you know about this? You have the custom, whatever you want to stand up for on your jersey.
I like the fact, the thing that I agree with LeBron was the fact that what they did, they gave you a collection of
like a template.
What they thought. What they thought was good.
Exactly.
I can't breathe, or hands up. If you're going to tell me that I can pick something, that's what I was wondering about. I was like, man, the NBA has opened up a can of worms right now. If you tell me I can just put anything on the back of my jersey, and I said it has to be some kind of linguistic police out there who tell you. So for them to give you a template which had maybe 6 or 7 up there, and him not wanting to choose one of them, I totally can believe and go with it. Yeah, I had no problem with that. Him saying, well, no, I think I'm just want to go with my name.
I wonder who, maybe you know the Soapy, who made that final call? Is that the NBA's call on like the handful of acceptable, like is that like a Adam Silver call? Like that probably
was the NBA. Probably they also probably talked to the Players Association.
I was gonna say it must have been a joint thing.
They probably talked to a couple of players and got their feel for it, what they wanted. I like the fact they're making a statement, but I'm LeBron. If I'm LeBron too, and they said, well, here's a sampling of what you can say that you can put on the back of your jersey. You got 5 things you can say. I'm like, I got number 6. I want to say number 6. Well, we can't use 6. But,
no.
For me,
we can't sell that on NBA.com.
Yeah, never mind. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when you walk into the gas station looking for, you know how they like Coke does those bottles that has everyone's name. It's like, all right, why don't you have my name on there? Like, it's just like they basically told them, here's 12 things that we put into a hat. Pick one. Like,
pick one and stand for it all summer.
They should have let them. It should have been on an individual basis. I know that's hard with how many players there are.
I don't think you have an individual basis because you'd have too many. It would be so distracting, and you lose the message. The message is lost. If you get hands up, I can't shoot, or I can't breathe, or whatever else you might have said, maybe 2 or 3 others. Okay, the message is pretty good. But if you start going out on a tangent, there's gonna be some guy saying, free the Dolphins. How about that?
Yeah, I was gonna say within reason. Like, let's keep.
Somebody put Willie on the back of this thing.
All right, Mr. Artest, you can't put that on your jersey.
Yeah, Mr. Artest, you can't use world medal.
We got rules here.
Spencer Dinwiddie was trying to put something on his jersey,
the debt. I thought he was supposed to do something about like the. Yeah, good call. It was like
you want to put like 26 trillion on his jersey.
Fucking stupid. It was about the U.S. debt and like how it's criminal and all this. I don't want to go on a political rant or anything.
No. And
Dinwiddie's hilarious.
that's the point. So the NBA had to give them a handful of things that they were going to put on the jersey, and they pick one of those. So I'm LeBron James, and I am socially aware of all these things going on. I might have something else I want to say. So, so if that's not the case, then never mind. You know, I'm still with the message. I'm still with the message, but you know, the message you're trying to put on the back of my jersey, I'm not with that one.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I felt the same way. I was hoping this wasn't going to be a big overblown story, which thank God it wasn't. But if you follow LeBron, if you follow these guys, they're doing plenty. You know where they stand as far as, you know, their stance on social injustice and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, he had the shirt on one time before, which was "I can't breathe."
I remember that. Yeah,
I can't breathe. Or,
the Cavs did. Yeah.
Yeah. He's had those captions on before, so I don't have you know, a problem with that.
Yeah.
I just that it needs to be uniform.
Definitely.
And that you look at, and isn't it so ironic right now with Kaepernick taking a knee, and then the irony of it is that later on what happened is there's a knee on the back of Mr. Floyd's neck and he dies. So what knee was better? Which one, and how does this? So I mean, I think that's the thing. That we have to say that sports is a hodgepodge of things now, and it's just not you playing your particular sport. It also has to do with the world views.
Yep. Well said.
Agreed.
So what do you got?
Taking it in a completely different direction. I know one thing that Max does love, which is at least on the broadcast anyways, he loves him some sandwiches. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. But you know what? Yes.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. That, you know, I tell people say, well, how do you come up with these things that you say all the time on your broadcast? Yeah. And I said, well, what happens is that being a radio analyst, your window of opportunity is very, very small.
Right.
So what I'm looking for is a bang for my buck. Yep. And so if I say the word sandwiches and you remember it, and people ask me, what did you mean by that? Nothing, but you remember it.
But you remember it. It worked.
It's a point of excitement. Like somebody said, oh my God, give me some Cheetos.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember that one.
You eat Cheetos, sir? No, I eat Cheetos. It's just a point of excitement that I'm trying to express to you when I see a game or see a great play. It's like, you know, I'm sure that you had sayings that you said before, or you've heard your father say, or your mother say, or your brother said, and, you know, holy crap, or, you know, or, you know, bingo, or whatever it might be. And what that does, that conveys a sense of excitement to our listeners. So because I have a small window, that's why I might do that. And I always tell people, say, well, how do you come up with that? I said, well, I used to drink a Pepsi, and then I'd have Dippin' Dots. And you put that together in your mind, that's like jet fuel, man. You might come up with anything. So that's how the whole thing happened with sandwiches, Cheetos, and big girls in the paint, and, you know, James Harden with his beard, or it's just a point of that you are as an analyst. If Sean gets excited about something, my point has to be to get just as excited, if not more so, to keep a conversation going. So if Sean said, for instance, if Sean went, oh my God, great play by Tatum, I'm like, yeah, that was pretty good.
Thank you, Cedric.
So you're trying to get a crescendo. You probably build a wave coming to an ocean. So that's why I use some of the lines that I might use. I might not be eating it at that time, but I could too. It's the
beauty of radio.
I and they always say do a broadcast like you're doing it with like you're talking to a friend in a bar. If you're in a bar, you might have a sandwich. You could either eat some chips. The other guys talking, you eat some chips, and all of a sudden something happens. You go, oh man! Then you got to stop, and that's how I do it when I start talking about sandwiches.
Well, since, it doesn't sound like there's a ton of rhyme or reason to it. If you ever want to be like, oh, like Grandy's like, oh, Tatum hits a huge three. Max is like, oh my God, the Morse Code Podcast. Like, if you want to do that on accident, I totally understand.
We won't sue you, 100%.
Yeah, no
cease and desist.
Right, that's when Sean Grandy would look at me and going, "What? What'd you say?
What? We're gonna take a quick timeout."
Wait a minute, what did you say? I mean, I did one thing. I think one time he was saying something, and I was like, I did something that Ernie Bach Jr. would do. Like, I don't know. One down, Ernie Bach said,
Yeah.
He looked at me like, what? What'd you say? So there's things I'll say, and sometimes he'll stop in his tracks when I say them. So I think that's how I go with the flow. But if I can mix you guys in there somehow, then maybe we'll do that.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, but seriously, so we thought about this, an interesting question I'd like to get your take on. So we're both from Nashua, New Hampshire. That's our hometown. There's a really cool bar restaurant there called the Nashua Garden. And I'm sure restaurants do this all over Mass, but they have like some specialty sandwiches for different like local athletes, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going through the menu right now. The only one I see on here is one for Larry. It's called Larry's Legend. It's honey maple turkey, capicola, and American cheese. If they were to say, you know what, it's about time we get the Cedric Maxwell on the board, what would the Cedric Maxwell sandwich look like?
Cedric Maxwell sandwich would be boar's head honey maple turkey. It would be maybe a good cheddar cheese, all this melted in, some bacon chips, bacon chips, a little bit of lettuce, and some honey mustard. And that's I think that would be my, and it had to be toasted though.
What kind of bread?
Toasted. Yep.
What kind of bread?
Whole wheat.
I'll try to set you up to say cornbread.
Cornbread wouldn't do it.
No, that wouldn't sell too fast.
That wouldn't do it on the sandwich. I mean, it was so funny, you guys, that I was talking to Jason Tatum when he first got with the team. And Jason knew me. He would, speak to me. Well, that year, that's when they had the 30 for 30, like Lakers 30 for 30. So he comes out before the game, and he's about to go out shooting. He sees me, and he goes, cornbread. I was like, dude, what's wrong with you? He said, man, I saw that 30 for 30. Damn, you were bad as hell. So, those things as a player, even my kids look back on it, they're like, man, somebody calling, I saw your dad on TV. Or during this pandemic, this has been the most interesting thing. I was at Shaw's, and the guy in the meat department sees me and says, man, that game you played the other day, man, you were really good. I said, dude, that was 40 years ago. So the pandemic is kind of, with all these old tapes of Celtic games, has made us, again, some of us older players, a little bit more relevant.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. That's really the only thing we've had during this thing is just watch old games again. Like documentaries and shit.
And that or Donald Trump. So I think I'll take
There's certainly different ways you could go.
Yeah, so we watch the old sports games.
All right, so go ahead before he gets canceled.
Yeah, bringing it back to your playing days. Dude, how did you play in Converses? How did you play in Chuck Taylors?
At the Garden of all
the Garden
floors.
court, compared to like what these guys are playing in new sneakers every game.
Shit.
Well, my first game, my first shoe that I was in the league actually was Nike, and then on the back of it, man, it would be great to have. But Nike had cornbread on the back of it, so it was really cool. And then I went from that shoe, I think I went to Pony, and both of them were pretty much, at that time, they were like cement blocks, both of them. Yeah. So I don't think anybody really got any traction or anything. I remember Larry Bird was the one who was first, like, in the whole thing about lifting his feet up and then wiping off the bottom of his shoe. He always did that. But very seldom, shoes didn't affect anybody. I think the best story about that was hearing the one about Spencer Haywood. Spencer Haywood was a former player in the NBA. and Spencer Haywood, Nike came to him at that time, and they said they wanted him to wear the shoes, so they offered him $100,000 a year, or they offered him 10% of the company. He took the 100,000. Now the 10% is worth about $6 billion. So I think that was the story that you're going, oh my goodness, that's how you get shortchanged.
Well, let me ask you this real quick, just as sneakerheads, the logo that they had on the back of your shoe, was it just written, or was there like a little picture of cornbread? Like, what did that look like?
No, it was just written. The words cornbread was kind of in the arc.
Do you still have a pair of them?
Oh no, I don't even know it.
Do you have any pictures?
No, I don't even have any pictures. Very seldom I kept any of that stuff back in the day. I could tell you guys one of the most unique stories I think that I had, and I've told this on my podcast. There was we were playing the Houston Rockets at the time, and at that time you had to stay overnight. Every team stayed overnight. And after you played, because we didn't have the big planes that left right after the game, and so I lived out in Framingham at the time. We had played the Rockets. I had gone home. We beat them. Gone home about 2:00 in the morning. There was somebody knocking on my door. I was like, damn, I wonder who that is. And it was a player from the Houston Rockets. And he said, just say his name. We'll just say his name was John Williams. I said, John. He said, John Williams. I said, who? John? He's from the Houston Rockets. So I opened the door, and he's with this other guy. And I said, yo, what's up? He said, you got any baking powder? I'm like, baking powder? I was like, I was about 22 years old. I'm like, baking powder? No, I ain't got no baking powder. I'm thinking like my mind, like, damn, what they cooking right now?
You guys making cookies?
Bacon. You got any ammonia? I'm like, ammonia?
They kill somebody?
What they cooking and they cleaning? I didn't know. So I finally said no, and they walked away. So I get back to next morning. I see my players at practice. I said, man, do you know that he came to my room and he asked me for some baking powder and ammonia, and said, you idiot. They were smoking crack. That's what he was doing. I had no idea. I was like,
nice.
I was like, they cooking and cleaning in the house at this time of morning. What are you doing here? So
NBA in the 80s, right?
Oh my God, in the 80s, they were fantastic. Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
We had a lot of questions about crack loaded up. So I'm glad that you went ahead and no, just kidding.
Trying to get you all encompassed about
how I love it
at the time.
Yeah,
I tell you guys one of the best stories. If you have time.
Yeah, we got time.
It's your time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you gotta.
Here's the best story. It was 1980. Could have been 1981. At that time, the Rolling Stones were touring America. So we had an exhibition game that year, and at that time the NBA was crazy. We had an exhibition game in Seattle. So I went out seeing this girl in Seattle, and we flew in Seattle, and we do a man woman thing. You know what you get together to do.
I got you.
Younger guy, younger girl.
Dinner, walk in the park.
Yeah. Poetry reading. And so after the poetry was over, I told her, I said, why don't you go back home and then get dressed, and I'll take you out to dinner. She's like, oh yeah, absolutely. So she leaves, and about half hour later, Eric Bernstein, who played with me, he calls me, he says, Max, I got 2 tickets for the Rolling Stones. And at that time, they were doing it in the Kingdom, big place out there, held 200,000 people. So I'm all excited. Man, yeah, I want to go see him. Yeah, absolutely, Eric. I want to go see the Rolling Stones. So he said, okay. And so I called her up, and I'm like, well, I can't take you now out to dinner. Oh, one of those things. You're going to come in town, screw me, and then you're going to just drop me off. I'm like, well, it's Rolling Stones. I'm thinking like, my God, you got to understand this. have never seen the Rolling Stones. Yeah, you know what? I'm coming down to that hotel. So I said, no, you don't need to come in and cause trouble. So maybe 30 minutes later, knock on my door. It's her. I got that padlock thing up there, and I opened it. I was like, yo, what do you want? She's like, I want to talk to you. So I'm like, no, you want to call? She said, no, please just let me. So, as a man, I take the lock off. She was about 5'3", kicked the door, just flew open, ran in the room, said, right now, I'll kick your ass. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm 6'8". You go. So I said, now in my mind, I know I got to get out the room. So I said, I got to go to Eric's room. So I go to Eric's room. She's behind me and she's walking down the hall. Now, this is during the 80s. Walking down the hall, she says, if I was you, I wouldn't walk too fast. This gun might go off in your back. So yeah, whatever. So I keep walking. I get to Eric's room. She's cussing me out up and down. He opens the door. She stops talking. I walk in. She follows me in, takes a seat. And I forget my key in my haste to get out. I said, Eric, can you get my key down at the lobby? So I give him my ID. He goes down. So now he closes the door. She starts cussing me out again. Jumps up off the bed, grabs his Rolling Stone tickets, which he left on the counter, grabs them, rips them up, and flushes them in the toilet. Now, my mind, I'm like, I'm thinking, first of all, I got to tell a white guy he's not going to see the Rolling Stones. That was the first thing I was thinking in my mind. And then she walks out the room. She's like, I'm not through with you yet. I'm like, damn, what can she do
what
next?
Else?
What's next? So Eric comes back. He goes, oh, no, you stole my ticket. Eric, I wouldn't steal your tickets. I said, what you do? He said, well, we need to have her arrested. I said, Eric, that's just, as we like to do, gentlemen like to do, let's let it rest, okay? Let's let that one die. So go scout some tickets. He goes, I go back to my room that's probably about 10 o'clock at night there. So my body was still on East Coast time. So I was exhausted. It was about 1:30 in the morning to here. I get the call from the coach about 11 o'clock. He said, Max, you okay? I said, yeah, coach, I'm fine. He said, you sure you're okay? I said, I'm fine. I said, what's going on? Well, he said, 5 minutes ago, this girl just called here and said you raped her.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Now, nothing ever happened about it, but you think of it, put it this way. What would happen if social media had been in my life at that time?
You're done.
My God. That's what these guys got to worry about now, especially in this bubble.
Oh,
yeah.
Man, you think of them, some of those young men, and Stephen A. Smith put it the right way I didn't want him to say it, but he did. He said, how are they going to get some of these women in with these young men and sneak them into their rooms? How are they going to do that? And still,
we'll find out.
They got a 1-800 number, the hotline number for players telling on players.
Yep.
That bubble thing is going to be interesting at best.
It certainly will.
Wow.
It certainly will.
I was expecting a punchline, but that was nothing to laugh about at the end.
Oh, it was a punchline. The punchline was I got punched. That was how that worked out.
He was the punchline.
Like, what?
Cool. So yeah, no. In short, no Rolling Stones for those young guys. Maybe next time.
Never got a chance to see Mick Jagger live.
Well, good news is he's immortal, so he'll probably be touring for another 200 years once we get back to normal. But
if we get him on the show, we'll invite you back.
Well, I'll make sure I'm not with some woman and then trying to.
No shit.
Yeah, we don't want that. We'll
make it a safe environment. But I know you got to roll, man. I think you have another interview coming up or something like that. But thanks for coming on, man. Seriously, this was an honor being able to chop it up with you about this stuff. Really good insight on some Celtics stuff, some stuff from back in the day. Before we let you go, Cedric, I want to make sure you give you the platform. Where can people find you on social media or on the airwaves and whatnot?
Well, if you want to find me on social media, my podcast is it's The Real Cedric Maxwell. And you can get on YouTube, You get on the internet. You can go to all these different sites. So it's pretty easy. I had some great interviews. One with Robert Parrish, which was outstanding.
Yeah.
Robert told me a great story about him and Michael Jordan, which I loved. He said that he was playing with Michael one of his last years when he's with the Chicago Bulls. And he said that he was on the first team with Michael. He won the first game. And then Phil Jackson put Robert Parrish on the second squad. So they went on to beat Michael Jordan's team 3 times in a row. And as Robert likes to do, everybody didn't know how funny Chief was, but as he's walking off the floor, he looks at Michael and said, "Hey, Michael, how you like them ass whoopings we put on you?"
Oh, no.
And Michael being competitive as he was, Robert said, Michael turned to him and said, "You know what? You keep talking, I'll kick your ass." And Robert's like, "You and who else?" So, and he was talking about how Michael Jordan essentially was a tyrant at that time. And that was just really interesting to see what he was saying.
Nice. We'll put that in the show notes. But again, thank you for coming on, man. Appreciate your time. We'd love to have you back sometime.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.